When I first picked up the demo for 10 Dead Dubs, I expected it to be a cheesy old-school Silent Hill style of horror with a lot of comedy sprinkled in, while being surrounded by a lot of surreal expressions through the abstract design that they chose to use for a lot of the traumatic experiences. I can't say that I was fully prepared for the challenging topics that were brought up throughout the trip, especially given to how I've been recently struggling with certain personal issues with my mental health recently brought up because of video games like this. Since these topics are being covered in this game, such as the concepts of dreaming and worrying about the future, or why bad things seem to always happen to the best people when we least expect it, 10 Dead Dubs is more than just a silly horror game, especially with their bold choice of a character name like Sean, seemingly mocking other games and their classic features like with Heavy Rain.
Sean, I'll strangle you! Where are you at?
Or even with other games like Slenderman and picking up each of the notes. This is a very unique multiple ending walking simulator that manages to keep itself focused the entire time and sometimes manages to distract you from your main goal, getting you a choice that you may have not wanted. While the game is rather short and it can feel like it's eating up a lot of your time due to the tank controls, retracing your steps, and general exploration that it forces on you if you do by chance miss anything, it's certainly worth taking the time to see everything through and getting everything out of this unique story. The story itself follows Sean and Marcus Stenson, two best friends who have decided to embark on a journey throughout the Appalachian Mountains in search of the urban legend known as the Ant Farm. There have been many missing hikers, campers, animals, and more that have disappeared in this area, and they think that it's a good idea to try to explore the restricted area, just like many others before them. Not really the brightest ideas, really. This is set in the early 2000s. Traveling by car, they set out on their adventure. Nearing the end of their journey, their car runs out of gas, leaving them to retrace their tracks throughout the forest to return to the gas station that they left not too long before. Marcus appears to have an emotional breakdown as things begin to unravel as they take on hurdle after hurdle of spiraling thoughts and dreams. They have no idea how much danger that they're actually putting themselves in as they delve deeper into the hidden secrets of this abandoned campground and forest, but as they make their way through, they become painfully aware. There's quite a lot here, as it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard to impress you by taking a more casual and unpretentious approach with their characters' personalities at first. You start to perceive Sean and Marcus just like you would with any person you see in public, just two good buddies who spend time together and hang out, while also having their own squabbles. They love to pull pranks on each other and have hilarious and sassy attitudes that make them feel real. They appear to come to life before your eyes, as if they're not video game characters but rather the developers themselves putting themselves right in front of you. The devs clearly loved working on this game. It feels like a passion project, not something cheap and underhanded, and the way that they designed everything feels very rustic and unpolished, but in a good way that I can appreciate because that's the way they intended it to be. As if they didn't have the skills to make something work, so they did something in their own way to create something interesting and unique to themselves. In terms of being a horror game, it has a lot of that not scary yet exhilarating vibes going for it. You might get scared by a whisper, or a shadow in the distance, but more likely you'll be unsettled by the uncanny low frame rate creature that appears to teleport to you in seconds.
The door! No, 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 no!
Which can be very frightening in tense moments. For all intents and purposes, this will be more of a tank control walking simulator with you having to do a variety of different tasks and puzzles, all of which will have you backtracking a lot to pick up some of the missing items to progress to the next area and to try to unlock some of the secret locations which can be missed if you do head down the easier paths that are more open to you. There are a number of not so hidden cassettes and records that can help you piece together what's exactly going on out here in the middle of nowhere, and also a ton of trash to pick up, which was surprisingly satisfying to do rather than feeling like a chore. The focus on PlayStation 1 inspired graphics and, from what I can tell, original sound effects that I don't think I've really heard anywhere else makes the experience much more interesting, especially with the fully voiced characters. As somebody who prefers to finish everything in a room before leaving, especially when you're down to the final remaining piece, which is completely optional for potentially more hidden secrets and options, it was a little bit irritating because some of these secrets are fairly well hidden. They're not as difficult as, say, a handful of Silent Hill puzzles and their obscurity, but still difficult and exhausting enough to run you up to 30 minutes or an hour of searching before giving up and moving on with the story. So if you're the type of person who likes to investigate every minor detail multiple times and also solving these specific puzzles, you'll have a lot of fun digging into the multiple branching secrets and potential endings that may or may not open up for you. While the game's progression was absolutely more or less on the slower side of things, you'll most likely stick around because of the story and dialogue with the way the characters support one another. It most likely will be out of reach for anybody that's mostly hoping for a more thrilling, intense experience which has you running around and evading monsters and horrors and jump scares, because remember, 10 Dead Dubs is short and very clearly a walking simulator with a lot of puzzle solving that incorporates features found in many other games while adding in their own twists and designs to make it their own.